Traditional fire is mathematically clean and psychologically brutal. Coast fire is the idea that you can retire from the stress of saving decades before you hit a multi-million-dollar number. Not by quitting work at 30, by quitting mandatory saving. In this video, we'll break down the math of front-loading, the lifestyle pivot that comes after you hit critical mass, and how to calculate your coast number. Quick disclaimer, this is educational only, not financial advice. We'll cover 4 parts: the math, the pivot, geographic freedom, and digital leverage, and how to calculate your coast number. Stay with me for Chapter 1, because the most important detail is this: 2 people can contribute the same $240,000 and end up in completely different places. And later, I'll show you the simple calculation that turns coast fire into a concrete target like the $195,000 example in this script. To understand coast fire, you have to understand compounding in a way most people never fully internalize. Most people invest linearly, a steady amount every month for decades. Investor A follows the traditional path from age 25 to 65. He invests $500 per month into an S&P 500 index fund, earning an average real return of 7%. Over 40 years, he contributes $240,000 and ends around $1.2 million at 65. When investor B uses coast fire from age 20 to 30, she invests $2,000 per month. That's the same $240,000 in total contributions by age 30. Then she stops investing. No more retirement contributions for the next 35 years, she just lets it coast. By age 65, her portfolio compounds to over $3.6 million. Same principle, $240,000, different outcome, because she front-loaded the capital and gave it more time to compound. That's the core of coast fire. Reach critical mass early, and your portfolio starts doing the heavy lifting for your traditional retirement. Picture 2 versions of the same person at 30. Version 1 still needs a high income to cover living expenses and a big monthly investment target. Version 2 only needs to cover living expenses because retirement is already in motion in the background. Here's the part people misunderstand. Hitting your coast number doesn't mean you stop working. You still have bills. You just don't need to fund retirement anymore. Before coast fire, you need income to cover life and aggressive investing. After coast fire, you only need enough income to cover current expenses. If your living expenses are $40,000 a year, you only need to earn $40,000 a year. You don't need a $100,000 corporate salary anymore. That's the psychological shift. You're no longer trapped in a high-stress environment just to feed retirement accounts. Historically, people describe this as barista fire, a part-time job covering bills. But in 2026, many people use that runway to pivot into higher leverage work. Think of Maya. She's not chasing maximum salary anymore. She's chasing autonomy, healthier work, remote flexibility, and skills that scale. Because retirement compounding is already running in the background, this is where coast fire becomes a life system. When you're no longer optimizing for salary alone, you can optimize for location and leverage. Instead of staying trapped in a narrow, location-tied path, you can take a temporary pay cut to learn skills that decouple income from geography. That could mean building scalable backend AI architecture or global e-commerce systems. The point isn't hype, it's that the work can be remote and scalable. These aren't get-rich-quick schemes, they're deliberate systems. And here's the key detail. These systems might generate $40,000 to $50,000 a year in profit. Maybe that's not enough to build a retirement portfolio from scratch. But with coast fire, it can be enough, because the retirement portfolio is already compounding. This unlocks geographic arbitrage. If income is location independent, you can choose a lower-cost place and lower the stress required to cover your bills. In plain terms, you retire from money stress decades before you retire from making money. Now let's turn this into a calculation. Step 1. Pick a traditional retirement goal, in this example, $1.5 million at age 65. Step 2. Pick your timeline. If you're 30 today, you have 35 years for the money to grow. Step 3. Assume a conservative, inflation-adjusted growth rate. Historically, the S&P 500 has returned about 7% after inflation, but to stay conservative, we'll use 6%. Plug those numbers into a coast fire calculator, and you get roughly $195,000. That's the unlock number in this example. If you have around $195,000 invested by age 30, your retirement compounding can run in the background, while you shift your working life to cover today's expenses. You step off the treadmill, not by stopping work, but by changing the rules of work. Quick recap. Ghost Fire works because front-loading gives compounding time. The lifestyle pivot works because you stop needing to save for retirement. And then freedom comes from choosing work and location based on life, not just salary. If you want to go deeper on the specific high-leverage digital systems that can fund a coast lifestyle, we'll cover frameworks for building location-independent income in an upcoming series. If that interests you, consider subscribing. And for decisions tailored to you, consider talking to a qualified professional. Thanks for watching.